Now back to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. As investigators hoped DNA from gloves found 2 miles from her home might point to a suspect, but it came back with no match in the FBI database.
So the DNA found inside the house is still being processed. Newsmax crime correspondent Jason Mattera is on the ground live for us in Tucson with the very latest this morning. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Mark and Charlotte. And yeah, as we noted yesterday, we should have seen within 24 hours whether there'd be a match in the FBI's database known as CODIS to the suspicious gloves found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's residence. And that didn't come back with a match, no hit. But we also noted that just because it didn't come back with a match doesn't mean it's still not a lead. And they could now pursue more advanced methods to try to track down who that DNA belongs to, because CODIS only deals with a very small slice of the population, those convicted of a crime. And in fact, Sheriff Chris Nanos, he spoke with our own John Huddy yesterday, and he did confirm that more advanced techniques are being explored. Take a listen.
Because we find DNA in CODIS, which I think I heard somebody say makes up about 6% of the population, that because that it didn't hit that database doesn't mean we're done. We compare it to all the knowns. There's no match there, but we can still do more with it. We can still submit it for genealogy and see what that takes. And that's a little bit more process and it takes a little longer, but we can do that.
Now, for context, forensic genetic genealogy analyzes hundreds of thousands of DNA markers, whereas CODIS only looks at about 20 markers. So as this process moves forward, you get those hundreds of thousands of DNA markers, you build a more complete genetic profile, and then you compare it against a public ancestry database where users have consented to law enforcement access. And the hope then there is you build out a family tree, zero in on potential suspects who may even be distant relatives. And it's not just with the gloves that were found, but it is also with the foreign DNA that was found in the residence as well. Meanwhile, the Sheriff's Department does tell us they're working with the manufacturer of Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker and other outside experts to try to track down the device's location. They are working with Walmart management in order to isolate who purchased that backpack. That backpack is exclusive to Walmart. And they're also fanning across local businesses, including gun shops here in the Tucson area. They're showing that surveillance video, possibly other photos of persons of interest to see if anyone recognizes the people, and particularly the person identified in that surveillance video. But Mark, Charlotte, the sheriff also noted that there's tons of information coming out, or even speculation, they're not going to confirm every single lead that they're tracking down, every lead that they're investigating. And as frustrating that may be for us in the media and the viewer, we want to report information, give information. We also don't want to jeopardize any of the investigation, because the focus at the end of the day is finding Nancy Guthrie and whomever is responsible for her disappearance. Back to you.
Yeah, and it's understandable that they wouldn't release all of the leads that they may have at this moment. All right, thank you so much.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.